Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at installing the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver on a 2023 Honda Passport. Now this is what your hitch is going to look like when it's installed, and the great part is it's a hidden cross tube, so the only thing that you're going to see is the receiver opening here, so you get all the function of the 2-inch by 2-inch receiver tube opening, but it's going to hide the rest of the hitch, so you get a nice clean look. And being a 2-inch by 2-inch means that you're going to have tons of options available for bike racks, cargo carriers, or even ball mounts. And all of your accessories will stay in place with a 5/8 pennant clip. Now this is not included with the hitch, but a lot of times your accessories will come with one. If you want to pick up a locking version, that's a really nice option. That way you can leave your accessories in place, lock them, and know that no one's going to be able to walk away with them. Rolled style safety chain loop here makes it nice and easy when you're hooking up your trailer to get your safety chains, whether they be standard S-hook or even a larger clevis style is going to work really well here. Speaking of towing, this hitch does have some pretty good weight capacities, and your gross trailer weight rating is going to be coming in at 5,000 pounds, which is going to be the weight of the trailer plus the accessories loaded onto it. You also have a tongue weight rating of 750 pounds, which is going to be the downward pressure that's put on the inside of the receiver tube opening. And that's going to be a lot of capacity for a tongue weight. So if you have a 4-bike rack loaded up, cargo carrier, you should have no problem being able to safely do that. Now it can be used with a weight distribution hitch. It'll bump up that gross trailer weight rating to 6,000 pounds. Your tongue weight is going to stay the same at 750, but that is something to take in consideration if you have a slightly heavier load. Now, something you want to do is check the vehicle's owner's manual to see what it's capable of towing and compare that with the hitch as well as all of your towing components and take the lowest of all those numbers. That way you're not overloading anything while towing and you stay safe. Now the receiver opening sits pretty nice here on the fascia, and from the center of the hitch pin hole to the furthest point, we're looking right at about, let's say, 3.5 inches, and that's going to be great for a lot of your accessories that may fold up in the stowed position. Sometimes they can get close to the fascia, but I don't worry too much with this one. Something else to consider is when getting a ball mount, you want to make sure that that coupler is not going to make contact with your fascia or you have plenty of clearance, and with this one, I don't worry too much about that. As far as ground clearance goes, from the top of the receiver tube opening to the ground, we're looking right at about 15.5 to 16 inches, and that's going to be a pretty good ground clearance. That measurement's also going to be used for determining whether you need a rise or a drop. So measure the coupler of your trailer and then take that measurement and compare it, see if you need to rise or drop that. But also with that ground clearance, you should be pretty good with a lot of your suspended accessories. So as your cargo carriers or bike racks are on the back, they are going to want to tilt towards the ground as you go up steep inclines. But with a larger ground clearance, you shouldn't have any issues. Just kind of keep that in mind when you have them loaded up, going up inclines on rocky or rough terrain. Now, many times, either before getting the hitch installed or after the fact, people wonder whether or not it'll work with the hands-free liftgate. And some vehicles, unfortunately, it interferes with it and you lose that ability. But you'll be happy to know that this one still definitely works. So even with the hitch in place, a simple kick underneath is going to raise that up and it's still usable. Now, as far as installation goes, this one is super easy to do in your driveway or garage. You probably don't even have to lift the vehicle up, but I do recommend having an extra set of hands to kind of raise it up when you put that hardware in the weld nuts. And you could probably knock this out in about 15 to 30 minutes at total, and I'm going to walk you through how to get yours installed. So let's take a look at that. Now, to begin our installation, we're going to head underneath our vehicle, and depending on what kind of environment you live in, you do want to check to make sure that the hardware is going to go in the factory weld nuts. And over time, salt road grime can kind of build up in there, make it a little bit rusty and hard to get the hardware in. We want to make sure it's nice and clear before we start to put up the hitch. So I recommend taking your bolt and making sure you can at least hand thread it through. If it does give you resistance, you are going to want to knock that corrosion and rust loose. Sometimes you can take an impact and drive these up and it'll help clear it. But if it gets a little bit more serious, you may want to take a little bit of penetrating oil or a rust inhibitor, and that way you can kind of let that soak and knock it loose using a tube brush. A lot of times for light corrosion, this is a great way to do it. And if it does get severe, you may need to get a tap. It'll be the same thread as your bolts, so you can refer to your instruction manual for that. But if they all thread in nice and fairly easy without any resistance, you're in luck. Now, with an extra set of hands, we're going to raise our hitch up, but you're going to want to have your hardware set up. There's a conical tooth washer. You're going to want to slide these on the hardware with the teeth facing towards the hitch. So get this ready, and when we raise it up, we're going to just get one hand threaded on each side, and that way it'll support the hitch, making it easier to get the rest of the hardware in. I got John here. He's going to help me raise this up. So just align those holes right on those weld nuts, and whichever one's easiest to get to, just go ahead and start hand threading this in. And with one on each side, we can go ahead, we can let go of our hitch and get the rest of the hardware hand threaded in as well. Now to get it to align, you may have to kind of lift the hitch in certain areas, just kind of take that stress off of where you're threading in. Now with those all started, we're going to go ahead and tighten these down with a 7/8 socket. If you don't have a 7/8, a 22 is pretty close as well. But we're going to just kind of zing these up to get it cinched against the frame. We're going to be coming back with the torque wrench immediately after this, so you don't have to get really crazy here. You just want it flush against those frame rails. Now we'll come back with our torque wrench, and the torque settings are going to be found in the instruction manual. So we're going to want to adhere to those and dial your torque wrench in. That way it's going to be tight enough to hold the hitch in for the lifespan of it, but also not be too tight, putting stress on those weld nuts or the threads. And if you need a torque wrench, we have these available here at eTrailer. You can generally go to an auto parts store and rent one for free. Now with everything tightened and torqued, your hitch is officially installed. So all that's left to do, load up your accessories, put in your pin and clip, and hit the road. And that was a look and installation of the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver on a 2023 Honda Passport.